Hello and welcome back to EcksToo. Corey here again with some more Star Wars Empire at War mod news, this time looking at one of the more anticipated units coming to Fall of the Republic, a Clone Wars mod. So, we have recently done videos looking at the Empire of the Hand in Thrawn's Revenge, and then the new Super Star Destroyer models coming to Thrawn's Revenge, but today we're looking at one of the more anticipated ships, the Mandator and Mandator-2 class. So there are some designs that are fairly popular among EAW players for the Mandators, specifically thinking about like the Pride of the Core and Republic at War, that come from the Warlords mod. But when we were designing our Mandators here, Farshot did the model and then I did the texture. Farshot was looking at some of the in-universe mentions we do have, because there isn't an official design for the Mandator. We do know that the Bellator comes from a diverging line. So that was kind of the basis that was used here. And then Farshot tended to try to focus on bringing in design elements that kind of put some acclimator detailing onto the basic Bellator frame and some other general Republic style design elements. So the way this works is the Mandator 1, which was a pre-Clone Wars design, is the one we're looking at right now. Because of some regulations and restrictions in the Old Republic before the Clone Wars, these ships tended to exist as a kind of a status symbol for systems. They were mostly used for defense, but really they were kind of to show that certain planets like Kuat were rich and were able to afford these giant vanity projects that, again, were pretty powerful for the time, but weren't necessarily super heavily armed even for their size, because there were those restrictions and they weren't able to travel around the galaxy very fast. So using them in an offensive is not especially efficient. So you start by building one of these guys, the Mandator 1s, and in certain situations they will be on the galactic map from the start, depending on which side you're playing as, which campaign you're playing in. But once you have one of these, you are able to upgrade it into the Mandator 2, which is the up-armed and up-armored version of it, bringing it closer to the Bellator, actually. So you can see kind of the additional turrets, some of the additional plating along the side, some changes in the texture. There is one part of it that is still under production here because of some issues with the UV map. You can kind of see it on the side there where there's some stretching, but that should be fixed hopefully soon. But yeah, you can see this is fitting in with some of the updated polygon and texture restrictions that or limitations or guidelines that we have been doing, that I talked about in the SSD video for EcksToo here last time. But again, Farshot did the designs for the Mandator 1, 2, and he is currently working on a design for the Mandator 3, which is going to show up in Thrawn's Revenge. It's more of an Imperial era ship. But yeah, so hopefully you guys are looking forward to this. I'm going to just pop in a subjugator. So we often get asked, like, when we add a ship like this, what is the other faction getting that is equal to that? But the way that balancing in the mod in particular works, we don't necessarily try to have a one-for-one correlation on each side. When we stat the ship, things like cost and firepower and pop cap, they're all interrelated. So even though there isn't a ship that can typically take these guys one-on-one, the subjugator comes kind of close for reasons we'll discuss in a second. Generally, the way that you beat SSDs in the mod are by sending a lot of fighters and bombers, which is something that the CIS can generally do pretty well, especially when you're using Lucrehulk. So even though most ships will typically not, and we're a bit out of range with some of this, but the subjugator can actually do decently against the Mandator, because the subjugator's special weapons here are... I'll just spawn another one in, because this one seems to... The AI doesn't seem to want to move that one. But the special weapons have an ion stun that kind of goes through and makes it actually do okay against larger ships like the Praetors, the subjugators. Oh, here we go. The Praetors and Mandators, rather, not the subjugators. So if you are actually doing a 2v1 with the Mandator classes against the subjugator, it'll actually get a decent amount of the shields down and even do the ion stun through the shields. But yeah, so usually when you are fighting a Mandator with the CIS, you'll want to go more for ion weaponry from these guys, supported by a bunch of bombers. You can see the shields are already stripped, even though the subjugator kind of got hammered at the start from the fact that it wasn't firing from back here. And I'm not sure why the AI wasn't doing that, but that's just instant action kind of being instant action. But either way, that's going to do it for our look at the Mandators. Depending on what else Eck and Charlie want to cover on the channel here, we might have some more Empire at War news videos for Thrawn's Revenge and Fall of the Republic coming up before release. Charlie and I are working on something cool for mid-December related to squadrons in Empire at War. So keep an eye out for that. A lot of cool stuff coming to EcksToo over the next little while. If you would like to see more of this stuff in action, more mod previews for Thrawn's Revenge and Fall of the Republic, you can follow me on my personal channel, CoreyLoses, which will be linked in the description, where I'm doing some full playthroughs with some of this content in the lead up to release. We don't have a set release date yet, but we're getting close. And yeah, so you can also find links to the mods in the description as well if you'd like to try them in their current iterations before 1.0 of Fall of the Republic and 3.0 of Thrawn's Revenge released. But hope you guys are looking forward to the mods, and thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time.